Welcome back to this episode of the Becoming Immune Confident podcast. It's Dr. Kara here, board certified in allergy, immunology, and lifestyle medicine. Also happen to be an autoimmune patient, and we love talking with guests who intersect with all these different things. And I am thrilled for you all to meet Dr. Tanya. Dr. Tanya Rogers is truly inspiring. She is a NASA engineer turned CEO of the People CO2. And we are going to talk all things science, STEM, navigating that career path, sustainability, and all those things today. So I'm so excited to welcome you to the show and would love to learn a little bit more about your story.
Thanks, Kara, for having me here. And you were saying all my favorite words: science, STEM, sustainability. You got a lot of the good highlights in there. I'm a NASA engineer. I've been there for 10 years now, which is a good feeling to say out loud. About 2 years ago in parallel, I decided I didn't have enough on my plate, as people who tend to be overachievers do, and decided to start a company, the People CO2. And then that was really driven by the concept of climate change, I would say. And really what we focused on is I wanted to give everybody the ability to do something. There's a lot of great things we can do in terms of reducing the amount of carbon we consume. We can run less water, we can turn our lights off, we can recycle. But if I were to tell you right now, just reach into the air and grab a carbon molecule, get rid of that carbon in the air, we're kind of, just as everyday people, we're kind of helpless. And I was like, well, maybe somebody should do something about that. Maybe we should come up with some sort of tool. So I put my thinking cap on 1 to 10 times. The first time anyone tries to do anything, at least in my experience, you fail, or not fail, but you learn along the way, right? Usually the first idea out the gate isn't where you land. And if it is, congratulations, because that is amazing. And so we tossed around some ideas. I built a team, and ultimately we landed on inventing this paint. And to the eye, it looks like normal paint. It feels like normal paint, but it does a little more magic. It does some science. And when you put it on any surface, it captures carbon dioxide out of the air. And that's where we're at today. We're getting this off the ground. We've got a Kickstarter that's running until May 20th. And so we're excited to kind of get this out into everybody's hands and play with it and see how it's received.
That's incredible. I want to kind of connect the dots maybe for those who are newer listeners and kind of wondering like, well, this is a podcast about the immune system. Why are we talking about climate change? Why are we talking about carbon? And the reality is that air pollution in particular increases effects on our immune system health. We know with allergies, air pollution increases the allergenicity or the potency of pollen and can increase our symptoms threefold. Air pollution has impacts on our skin health and is a main contributor to adult eczema. And these are just like a few of the ways that this is scratching the surface. I actually am really excited, and I should bring some more of this onto the show, but I help with a class with medical students who are really excited about how they can make an impact as physicians, knowing that there are so many health implications that climate change has. And so this is a really cool parallel and complement to that, because you're talking about ways to reverse this problem. As you have building a startup and starting a business, it takes incredible drive. And you also have been open about, have faced kind of your own health issues over time. How do you balance kind of those demands of entrepreneurship while also kind of keeping in mind your own well-being?
Yeah, it's taken a while to even accept the word balance. I'll admit that's a place I got to a few years ago. My health journey started, I'd say I've been sick for about 15 years now. And it's a little frustrating in the sense that we don't really know what's going on. I've been to all the doctors, all the tests, all the scans. I know there are certain things that will trigger. I've got gastrointestinal disorder. I know there's certain things that'll trigger it. So I can have some good days, some bad days. And for me, where I've landed, the thing that helps is, and when I say this word, people kind of see it as defeat. And so I don't want anybody to interpret it as defeat. but acceptance helps me. Yeah, so acknowledging my condition, not in the way that I'm saying I'm not as good as somebody else, but just saying that it's there. And once I out loud admit that I've got something that might not be able to let me give 100% today. And I've learned to become okay with that. Because for a long time, I've always just been go, go, go. You got to do your best and more than your best every day. And for me, that doesn't look like what it looks like for everybody else. And so the days where I'm not the greatest, I'm in the middle of a flare right now. I have to balance where I give my energy. I couldn't really do my morning routines this morning. If you look behind me, I've got a counter full of dishes. And I know I'll get to when I'm feeling better, but not pushing myself and giving my body that rest and acceptance it deserves. That's kind of where I've landed, and some days it's harder than others. There are times when I have to step back. For the company, I had to pause for about 3 months because I was just really sick and I needed to let my body reset. But ultimately, I know once I give my body that break, it's going to be in a better place. I just got to give it the time to get there.
I know it's been some time, but one of the guests we've had on the show a couple of times, Cheryl Crow, she's an occupational therapist. She has rheumatoid arthritis, and she too has really found a ton of benefit, in particular in specifically acceptance and commitment therapy. And so she's kind of talked about some similar concepts. So we can link to those prior episodes if people kind of want to learn a little bit more of her experience with that as well. And I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like, it's realizing this is the reality and accepting that, and realizing we are 100% worthy with those things that make us us, and rolling with it. Yeah. Have you found any unexpected ways that your health journey has impacted your leadership?
So I have actually. Something that's helped my journey in terms of setting expectations is communication. And that's hard because you don't always want to tell everybody you're sick. And it's even harder because if you've got what they call invisible illnesses, when you say out loud you're sick, they're like, well, you look great. Or they just have some level of disbelief and don't understand how sick you are. And so over the years, I've learned to tell people, hey, I'm not going to be able to give it my all today. Or just communicate, you want me to work on this project, I've got 3 other things and my body just can't handle that. And you don't have to go into full details. You don't have to give them your 15-year medical history if you don't want to. And most people are understanding, right? Versus if you just stop showing up to meetings, or you don't respond to emails, or you go off the grid, folks get worried about you and they don't know what's going on, and it tends to kind of ruin those relationships. And so I found the same running the company in leadership, communicating clearly, and frequent communication tends to get a better response from the people we're working with and keep things moving forward a little better.
Yeah, I think that that's so applicable too to like our home life. Like I've had to, and in still learning and evolving how to like ask for help when I need it, and how to communicate like where I'm at with my husband. Like we've been in a partnership together for, oh gosh, like not quite 20 years, but we're getting close to that point. And yet this is still like an ongoing, like, oh yeah, he can't read my mind. Like kind of even in someone I'm so close with, like even there, like there's this, oh, okay, yeah, I gotta let him know what's going on.
Still working through the how to ask for help. So I'll tell people what's going on, but I won't say, okay, and now I need this. And it's so bad. I actually had surgery about 2 months ago. So my boyfriend came over and he took care of me through the recovery process for about a month. And I was so hesitant to ask for, he was trying his best. I couldn't even get out of bed. And I just 30% of the way in, I asked myself, what am I doing? This person cares about you. This person loves you. They want you to get better. They want to do these things for you. You're not an inconvenience. It doesn't make them miserable. They want to be here. Just accept that. It all goes back to acceptance. And that's a hard thing to do because we feel like burdens, and and it's hard to get over that mental block.
Yeah. I think that's extra true for those of us that are those overachievers too. You know, we've always kind of held our hat on that, like we can do it ourselves, like independent woman. I think sometimes too, as we kind of segue into like the discussion on climate action, like there is a similar overall feeling that sometimes comes about that we have with chronic illness. And there's a sense of like helplessness of like, oh, like what can we do? It's just such like Are we doomed? Is it worth like putting in the effort? And how do you keep yourself and the public motivated through this important but challenging work?
So this is going to sound kind of selfish. I am selective and mindful about where I put my energy. And I would
Yeah.
say I've spent a lot of time trying to convince people that climate change is real, trying to convince people we should be doing something. And I realized most people have already made up their mind what they're going to believe. No matter what facts you throw at them, they think they've got the alternative truth. And so I kind of switched my mentality in terms of, how I motivate myself and others to the sense of almost, and I don't want to say I don't care what people think, but I've come to a place where if somebody doesn't believe in climate change, I don't need their belief or disbelief to still do something about it. And so I motivate myself by acknowledging that if somebody doesn't believe in it, if they don't want to take action, that's their choice. I wish the situation was otherwise, but I'm not going to spend all my energy trying to cross a dead bridge. I can go paint a surface, or I could use less materials, or I can be more mindful about the earth with or without their belief, and just hope that there's enough action around me that it's not going to matter for the people who don't believe.
So many parallels
Yeah.
between that and other aspects of life. And going back to kind of this accept and move on and continue to making those next best steps forward in the work. And I think at some point too, we kind of have seen through other social movements that there is a tipping point where most people get on board and are doing something at some point in time.
Yeah, and there are a lot of great social movements out there, a lot of great climate activists, a lot of great efforts where people are trying to bring this to light and get others to understand what's happening. And so I leave it in their hands, and I just acknowledge that as individuals, we only have so much energy, right? And I found for myself, if I try to do 20 things at once, I'm just not really good at one of them. I'm just kind of giving 10% to all of them. And so if I let the people out there being really vocal do what they're doing, that gives me the time to be out working in parallel with taking a different type of action while they're doing that.
Yeah, and really lean into your genius zone, which is developing and inventing these really cool solutions.
Yeah, I've spent 10 years thinking about environment or working on environmental technologies for space applications, for earth applications. And so that's really, I think, where I can contribute, hopefully, and be the most effective. And it's where I'm happy. I'm excited about it. I'm enjoying it, and we're gonna see where it goes.
What are your like long-term, maybe even like pie in the sky goals for the people CO2?
So our key thing, and I want a bumper sticker that says "I love surface area," because the more surfaces we have this paint on, the better. And it's true when I say this really is a citizen movement. This really is the people doing something about it, because that's what we need to make this really have an impact. And I would just love to drive down the road and just look at a light post and see, oh, there's the people CO2 paint, or somebody's fence has the paint. Just the more people we can get involved, I think the more surfaces we have this paint on, I would call that successful. I would be happy. And so even if I take a step back, if this starts a conversation where people start to realize I, as an individual, could do something, whether they use our paint or not, that's still successful to me when you start to believe in yourself and know that you've got the power to make a difference and to contribute to that change.
And it's that power of starting small and seeing that build. I'm just thinking of the parallels that some of the things we've tried to do in our household over the last few years initially were motivated out of what are some ways to decrease our exposure to substances that aren't great to our own health? How can we maybe go from plastic to glass? How can we decrease some of the endocrine disruptors in like our skincare and personal products? But what I've realized along the way, and as I've continued to learn about the science in those areas, is that often those switches that we're making that help our own health also are really beneficial for the health of the planet too. Turns out our bodies tend to like things the planet likes too. On the whole, for me, okay, now I have one more tool in my tool belt that we can add of, okay, we can do some paint and that's going to help. And it expands that vision of safer swaps is kind of the terminology I've like grabbed onto, but it's not only safer for ourselves, but it's better for the planet, which is also healthy for our, our bodies too.
So I like that way of thinking, that by taking care of ourselves, we're also taking care of the planet and vice versa. Because it's true. We are very linked to the earth around us, to the water we drink, to the air that we breathe, to the things that we consume. There's a direct correlation between how our body reacts and how the planet reacts to us. And so the small thing, I think, really is acknowledging that and just understanding you can start to make that shift. It's challenging because, at least in American culture, our society is built around instant gratification, right? It's easier to grab a paper towel and throw it away than to use a reusable one and go through the process of washing it. It's easier to pick up takeout and already made containers. And I get it. I've done that too, because our days are busy and we pick where we choose our energy. And society, at least in our culture, doesn't build in balance and give us the leniency to kind of move a little slower as much as we like. And so I think trying to change that and be more mindful, if you can, about giving up a little bit of that instant gratification, and ultimately you'll start to see it's not going to make that big of a difference in your life. And so trying to get towards that is what we're pushing a little bit into as well.
As you think back maybe to the beginnings of your interest in making a difference in the environment, in climate, what were some of those first steps that you took to try to make a difference?
Yeah, so this actually started because a friend showed up at my house with a rock. Actually, he had a rock and there's a small little tree growing out of it. And he told me, I saw this and thought of you. I was like, well, that's really sweet. And he's like, by the way, while we're here talking about Earth things, there's this challenge. And at the time, there was this, oh, I'm forgetting the name of the competition, some big $100 million challenge. And it was big and bold, solve climate change and you'll get all the money in the world. And I was less interested in that part, but I liked the idea that people were getting on board with this. And so I was like, oh no, I'm too busy. And like every overachiever the next day, I was like, I'm doing it. So I decided I'm going to enter this challenge, but no plan in mind. And before I even had an idea, actually, I thought about the people I was going to recruit to be around me, especially as somebody who goes through health issues. I really lean on my network and my support. That's something I've kind of giving myself grace to do over the years. And I apply this to my professional life as well. And so I thought about who's going to help me make this successful? Who's got the skills that I don't have? How can we complement each other? Who do I bring in? And so I started there. I reached out to two friends because one is a proper entrepreneur, and as a scientist, I've got none of that. And one of them is a scientist, but he thinks different than me. And we've worked on projects before, and so we challenge each other in good ways. That's friendly. So I bring them on board, and they go, "What are we doing?" And I totally forgot about that part, right? So we started thinking, if you're going to do something, you should first understand what's already being done about it, what's working in that area and what's not. And so I had a little bit of background on carbon capture. I really dug into the literature and understanding what's happening. And I saw all these policies being developed or in place. And I saw all these industrial solutions trying to come online. And we started to realize there wasn't really anything in terms of carbon capture at the individual level. And that was our aha moment. That's when we realized that's it. That's what we need to do something. We gotta figure out what that looks like. And that's really where we started, coming to that realization of there's something big missing here and we should do all we can to try to solve that.
Awesome. I'm just always amazed by the collective action. And I think on your website, you have that Margaret Mead quote that I cannot remember fully at this moment, but that to not underestimate the power of people who really have a passion behind a particular cause.
Yeah, and I always butcher the quote. It's Margaret Mead, and she says something, yeah, don't underestimate that a small group of citizens can change the world, because indeed, that's all that ever has. And we really abide by that. It starts with a small handful of people, and then it builds to a bigger handful. And you've become this tight-knit group of people who want to achieve the same thing. And that's more powerful than people give it credit for.
There's a book that I read not that long ago and called Who Not How.
Okay.
And it really, the whole premise of the book, it's a business geared and minded book, but the premise of the book is really exactly what you just described. Finding out and understanding and knowing what your areas of strength are, and then finding those folks that complement your learning curves, that you don't have to learn and be an expert in everything. You find those experts and you have them help, elevate overall that collective action. And I've found, obviously, it's helpful from the business side of things and the social movement side of things, but also I think has been really helpful as I think back on like experiences in this space of like chronic illness too. And you were describing that as well, learning how to have your partner help you in the best ways that they're able to, accepting that help, building the medical team.
Yeah, there's something to surrounding yourself with people who complement you, right? Or people that can help you grow, or people who give you the space to kind of breathe because they're occupying the areas that you don't really want to be in or that aren't your strongest and they enjoy. I think it's symbiotic. It's a mutual relationship. I think it's a really beautiful thing.
This has been lovely. I would love to know, and so we can share with all the listeners, because I'm sure they want to know too, where they can connect with you, how they can find information on buying paint, how they can support your work and follow and be a part of this movement.
We would love to have anybody who wants to be in this. You can reach me personally and my company at all people CO2 social media. So we're on Instagram, Facebook, I think Twitter. Our interns do a wonderful time of running in and we pop in there as well. If you want to get your hands on the paint, we actually just launched it into the public and you can reach out to us also through our website, thepeopleco2.com. We have got our feet all over the internet. So there are lots of ways to say hi or to just ask us, how can you become a part of it?
It's incredible. And we've been trying to remember, we being me, totally on me, to ask our guests, the name of the podcast is Becoming Immune Confident. And this encompasses kind of both physical health and resilience in the face of challenges. But I would love to kind of hear what that means, what that phrase becoming immune confident means, or how it resonates with you.
And I keep repeating the word acceptance, but for me, that's really giving me the strength to feel good about myself. Maybe not physically on the days where it's just not working, but the acceptance has let me acknowledge who I am, and that's not in a bad light. It's let me acknowledge what I'm capable of. And I'm pretty proud of myself of what I've been able to achieve given my condition. And so once I accepted, hey, I got here despite all the things that I went through. And yes, it took a little longer than I wanted, and the path was a little more shaky than I wanted. But I've got that confidence because I take the time to accept everything and look back on what it's really come from. And so it all boils down again to acceptance for me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tanya. This has been wonderful. And I am just so excited to continue to follow your work. I need to hop over to the Kickstarter and think about where we have some surface area to cover and start capturing that carbon.
I've enjoyed talking and I'm excited for you to be a part of the journey, for everybody else to be a part of the journey, and looking forward to see what we all do together.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Take care. Hey there, amazing listeners. Before we wrap up today's episode, I want to take a quick moment to ask for your support. If you're enjoying the content of the Becoming Immune Confident podcast we're bringing you week after week, there's a simple but incredibly impactful way you can show your appreciation. You see, leaving a review is like giving us a virtual high five, and it helps our podcast reach even more people who could benefit from the valuable insights, entertainment, and inspiration we strive to provide week after week. So if you're finding value in what you hear, here's what you can do. Open up your podcast app, whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other platform, and give us a glowing 5-star review. We're dedicated to bringing you the best, and your feedback helps us fine-tune our content to suit your interests and needs. But hey, don't stop there. If you have a moment, leaving a few kind words in the review section goes a long way too. Share what you love about the podcast, your favorite episodes, or how it's made a positive impact on your life. Your words not only brighten our day, but they also encourage others to join our incredible community. Remember, every 5-star review and every word of encouragement counts. It's like fuel to keep us creating, innovating, and striving to make your listening experience even better. So, if you're up for it, show us some love by leaving us that virtual high five in the form of a 5-star review today. And a huge shout out to all of you who have already taken the time to do so. Take care. If you are loving this mix of self-discovery and science found here on the Becoming Immune Confident podcast, I'd love to invite you to sign up for my email list. Hop over to drkarawada.com and hit subscribe to ensure you don't miss out on any insights into new immune system science or how we can harness healing through our daily habits. Thank you for being a part of our podcast journey, and we can't wait to keep bringing you more amazing episodes in the future. Until next time, keep shining and keep listening and keep on building that confidence in yourself and your immune system health.